the coordination time. The working groups were able to talk about what works best or what they would see working best for coordination time at this meeting. We'll talk about that as well. So see if there's anything else I want to mention there. Is this agenda suitable? Because we'll get moving on it. Basically, that's going to be the basics. What we have is Ben. You want to give an update, Ben, for your group, which was tabled from last time?
Yeah. The only real update is that at last meeting there were 7 groups consented. 4 groups either stand aside or stand aside quasi blocked us joining. And the idea, there's a general feeling of a lot need to be elaborated, a lot need to be explained. So in the course of the last week, those 4 of us have gone to all 4 of those meetings with the social justice, committees of correspondence, Vets for Peace, and Seniors and Friends. Had very long discussions with all of them. A lot was fleshed out. We had no actual changes to our proposal at this time, but it was understood, and I can't, obviously I can't speak for those groups, but they consented at that time of us being there. Obviously, they can speak for themselves on the matter.
So let me ask, Seniors and Friends, and which other groups?
There's the four I guess dissenting groups were Seniors and Friends, Vets for Peace, Social Justice, and Committees of Correspondence.
Is Social Justice represented here?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I'd like is to have those groups speak, because this is not a new proposal.
No.
It's basically, he did what we asked of him. And so if I could just ask if those dissenting groups, if they have consensus on
yes, Seniors and Friends did come to consensus on that, and we did agree.
And Veterans for Peace consented.
Yes, there's justice.
And Committee of Correspondence did.
Okay, so those were the dissenting groups, and so they've been accepted to the coordinating council. So we've got a new application.
Yes, thank you, Alex.
For the moment. We've got it. You had your application. Careful what you wish.
I didn't bring you with me because I know it's going to be on the agenda.
Okay, that's okay, because we can do it next week.
But I sent it in to the facilitation committee.
Okay. Because we can, strategy group is going to be presenting the application next week. Then we'll go into proposals that for discussion. So these are phase 3 proposals that have been to GA, and then they've also been to working groups. And so this is just for delegates. What I'd like to do is just go around to the delegates and start with Tim's affinity group and get feedback from delegates on whether they consented or not, what their decision was.
Seniors and Friends did come to consensus, and we did agree.
Veterans consented.
We would not block it, provided some conditions in that. We welcome Tim's group because obviously they have a lot to offer and have been doing a lot of good work within Asheville. However, we do have some concerns with it, and one of them is that there is an other Occupy website, and it's not clear to us what another Occupy website reflects. And there have been Facebook comments which are extremely critical of the Nonviolent Direct Action Training Group and other things that have gone on in Occupy. These are violations of some of the guidelines which are on here, and we need to know that these guidelines, that if the group is going to be part of Occupy Asheville, that the guidelines here are acceptable to this affinity group, because these are the guidelines which hold us together, and especially the things about reflecting the dignity of people in the Occupy Asheville movement, promoting peaceful solutions to conflicts that exist, and there are real conflicts within Occupy, and I think those are real and important and need to be worked out, but we need a way to deal with them peaceably and with respect for all the people in Occupy, and that whatever criticisms exist within Occupy, of different groups within Occupy, that those criticisms remain within Occupy, and that we struggle with them within Occupy rather than taking them to forums, either social media forums or other media outlets outside of Occupy. And if there is agreement, if the group will agree to the guidelines and maintaining those guidelines, then we would suggest there be some kind of provisional membership for a period of time to make sure that those guidelines get maintained over the next period of time.
But officially you're a stand aside?
We will stand aside provided these, otherwise we'll block them.
Can I get a direct response for that? Because I think it was really hypercritical of me, or and I'd like to respond because those are serious allegations on my character.
What I'd like to do is just complete the go-around, only because if others have similar things, we may find that we need to address it in a different way. Are you guys too early to this to discuss your decision? I can move ahead if you want to.
Well, as I haven't spoken
Okay, I'm
to
sorry.
the non-voting director.
Okay, that's right.
Who were you were speaking?
I'm speaking for the Meat Talk Act group.
Okay.
Okay. With all due respect, Tim, since it's not personal, the concerns of the Nonviolent Direct Action Training Group had to do, first of all, with clarity of name, and there's a concern raised within our group of the name being linked to a single personality, and thought that might not be a good process for forming groups. So that was one concern raised. We thought the proposal you read that I heard at the last CC was a good proposal. It reflected a lot of thought and good possibilities for Occupy Asheville. We would like to welcome TAG to Occupy Asheville, but we have concerns. We appreciate the apology you made to the CC for the disruptive behavior of the spokesperson of the TAG group. That took a lot of courage, and we note that. There is a concern that TAG spokespersons using the Occupy Asheville public forum of 297 members to denounce this body here and other working groups and individuals called out by name in disrespectful and abusive ways. We're also concerned and need, as a provision of accepting TAG, that all members of TAG really make a strong commitment to the general agreements. We feel that already the strive for unity and cooperation in our diversity. I think our process of having concerns and criticisms about a particular proposal, that the person making the proposal going around to different working groups and hashing it out face to face is really a good process, and it allows us to build respect and trust with one another and cooperative honesty rather than being slammed in a public media. That and respect for all persons, the dignity of all persons. So we are suggesting also a provisional kind of acceptance, given some assurance of the commitment of all TAG members to the principles that bring us together. But finally, our real concern is we'd like someone to explain to us what is the other Occupy Asheville Facebook page. Is this an attempt to create another Occupy Asheville? It appears divisive to us, and we're just asking this question of whomever will speak to it. We need an answer. Thank you.
Did your group discuss things?
Yes, we did, and consents to accept.
Can you please state which group?
Oh, sorry, no, I got it. Seniors and Friends.
Okay.
And And it was just the time to point out that we consensus that there should be no restriction on who is the delegate from TAG.
Finance does not
Okay, right.
do that.
Facilitation, we did not reach consensus for TAG. There were concerns about the group's admission into the CC. We said it's a valuable group to occupy Asheville. Although there are concerns about the group in the context of the coordinating council and how it operates.
In the GA, we discussed tag at the Saturday GA, but we had too many concerns to reach consensus. About 15 people participated there. There were 5 down twinkles, 1 up down twinkles, 2 stand asides, and many people not twinkling at all. Nobody from TAG was there to address concerns. People have concerns about the group's intention to cooperate with other people and to respect the dignity of all persons, which are part of the general agreements and necessary for participating with the CC. Without those concerns being addressed, there's a potential for blocks. We cannot move forward without these concerns being addressed.
The anti-caucus consents on tags joining the coordinating council.
Martin?
As did media, we consented to allowing TAG to join the coordinating council. Out of respect for they aren't a separate part of Occupy Asheville. A lot of them have been here since the very beginning, and a lot of respect needs to be given for the amount of time and effort they've put in. And while I prefer TAG to Tim's Affinity Group, and but we consented to accept them unconditionally.
Outreach, we consent in favor of having them become a group. Nobody has really heard a legitimate reason for them not to be admitted, and also did not like the process of groups being excluded, and just make sure they adhere to the general agreement just like any group. That's all we have. You can vote now.
We didn't get sense and pick it up. We spent all our time last Saturday discussing the social caucus, so we didn't get a chance to consider.
Okay, and if this is not a group, let me know, but Social Justice Week consents to joining, and I think we discussed the recognition that there are various ways people communicate more effectively, and you did really well with the writing, and there was no restriction we placed on that. We just want to acknowledge that we recognized that you did well with that.
Okay, thank you. At this point, Tim, what I'd like, what occurred last time was that Ben's group had a similar situation, and what we asked of him is that the few groups that did have some strong feelings, he went to each of those groups.
I object. So you're saying I can't respond to that publicly?
Well, I didn't say that, but what I'm saying is just that, you know, where we stand now, it looks like we've got some situations that are kind of in between, and they're not fully stand asides. I mean, there's interest in your group being included, but that's with some strings attached, you know, some more commitments. And so, sort of what we asked Ben to do was go back to those few working groups that did have opposition in order to work that out. And as you can see tonight, Ben's group was included, and so I think it'd be fair to ask the same of you, but you know, you certainly can respond for concerns that were stated.
Okay, I might have forgot some of them, but I'll try to cover them all. The reason it was named Tim's Affinity Group, because the definition of affinity group is a group of friends that work together. So I was trying to reiterate that point. We already semi-renamed it to TAG, Targeted Action Group. So that response is met. And if you read the description that I posted about that other Occupy Asheville group, which is a Facebook group, there's 3 other Occupy groups that were started in the last 3 days for Asheville. But it's a private forum that we can use to discuss criticisms and problems within the movement, calls to action, so it's not in the public face. The only time, I don't even really think I've ever, yeah, probably, I've used people's names a couple times on the Facebook forum, and that was directly after some of these same people were calling me a drunk on public forums. So I say, you know, good for the goose, you know, it's like some pot calling the kettle black thing. And really what it is I have a problem. And a lot of my members of my group, and even other people that I talk to about this, the stance of the nonviolent group that is real absolutist. Okay, and there is, we're on one side of the fence and they're on the other. So our group, there is a little bit of conflict in it, but it's nothing personal. But I've seen myself personally denounced. I mean, I heard a comment from one of the GA minutes. It said, "Oh yeah, I think it was a joke they named." It was just straight up assumption that had how the name Thames Affinity Group came into being a name. So that's what I'm saying. And it says right there, this is not to be in the preamble for the that other Occupy Asheville group. It says this is not a division. This is an addition. You know, people can. I'm on multiple Occupy sites. I mean, I'm on multiple Occupy sites nationwide, and that's the thing. And even Wall Street said it: if you build it, you own it. You know, Occupy is not owned by a committee, and Occupy is not owned by Asheville. It's really a global movement. It's a sum product of all its individuals, and you really can't say you can be controlling for something like that.
And would you be willing to go to the groups that there are a lot of groups that have consented?
The thing is about the groups, and I've said in the whole process from the beginning, I really disagree with this process and how it's done. I think it should be easier, faster. And really, people don't have to get along, and really, people don't have to have all of the same agreements and viewpoints on a subject to be a part of a group that has one central core subject that they're in agreement with.
And you know, that document is open for revision, even though that.
Sure, yeah, well, it's already on a proposal tonight.
It's already, but it's. Like I was saying, that's sort of how, to be fair in the process, that's what we asked of Ben, and so that's why I'm suggesting we ask.
One of the reasons why I formed up the group, because, you know, we've been picketing in front of Wells Fargo, sleep over there, since December, since before I went to Washington, D.C. is actually when we started going in front of Wells Fargo. There's other actions I do, and people, and there's a lot of people that are part of my affinity group that really say they're not even part of Occupy movement anymore because they've been so turned off to a lot of weird stuff or whatever it is. But they're still part of the Thames Affinity group and can be part of the group process. So I don't know. I still think I missed a couple arguments about how people said things.
That's right. I don't think there's full enough support based on the feedback, but there is a request for some.
And I think I have to stand firm that I don't feel that any group has to politic to get on the coordinating council. And I'd consider that a form of politicking. And really, I'm trying to make it so the coordinating committees, you know, so I have 2 meetings a week instead of like 12.
So what I'm going to ask then is that the groups that are sort of with conditions is that they come back with a decision sort of, you know, set in stone. You know.
I just had a couple of questions, and I'll ask you since you want it to be public. And maybe I misunderstood or did not hear what your complete thought was. One is you said that the other Facebook page is private. I don't understand how.
Well, it's members only post, and nobody can see it but members. So that way.
No one can access it just going through Facebook?
No, you can. Anybody can become a member. You know, it's really moderate. There's only 22 people on it. It's like.
So what I'm asking is, you're saying it's for internal criticisms.
Not internal criticisms is like, oh, you know, Occupy Asheville sucks or the Occupy. No, actually debates on how to work with the process to do things. You know, like some critical issue that you say you can't bring it on an open forum. I mean, you know, well, maybe this is a slightly more private forum that people from broad viewpoints can actually discuss issues. And that's exactly what I made it for.
Well, just 'cause this is just gonna continue, that's what we're asking, is that, you know, the working groups, that do have concerns continue to.
I imagine every a working group or whatever representative, if they have any questions for me, they should ask them now. Huh?
Well, yeah, I do want to hear.
I think a lot of people agree with mediation. I think you know that. But I mean, you can maybe talk to the group possibly and see if it's not just you, Rob, or someone else could maybe go to some of the groups and talk. I think I would just urge you to do that. So probably.
We live out in Horseshoe.
Well, I know you live out in Horseshoe.
That's really far. Even if you're driving fast, it takes like 35 minutes or so to get to Asheville.
And the thing is about affinity groups, they're way loosely defined than you guys, and a lot of people in my group don't go to meetings. It's like, you know, they help and support in actual action. So yeah, you want to go to a meeting for me? Fuck no. Sorry.
Can I ask, would it be alright maybe if we had concerns with the group, could we maybe call you? Like, I know.
Sure, you can email me.
Or email you. So maybe one solution would be if groups had concerns, they could contact you out.
And I could address them, and they could be brought back to the thing Monday. That's fine with me. My